Hey guys. What's up everyone? Gosh. John Pettit, I wonder if you're still there. You're early, but you're probably nearly bedtime. Joseph Durdick, g'day. Chirpy, good to see you. I hope you're feeling lots better. Enjoyed the casting video. Richard, g'day. Craig, hello. Awesome job on the bandsaw, Craig. Looks good. Machine and Zeg, g'day. Dan Shed, put up a link in the chat there. Go and click on it later. Dan Shed's first video. He's a bit nervous, but he'll get used to that and get over it probably. And should be a pretty cool channel. You heard it here first. Mancade, g'day. Uncle Bob's Bees. Rotary Encoders, yeah. Thanks for that. Peter Noddle, g'day. Paul Anthony, hello from Sydney, g'day. Hey, from the Gold Coast. Alistair Riddock is in disguise, g'day. Hey, Alistair. Ventures with a Very Small Lathe. You should go and check out his video this week, dropped. There we go, Adventures with a Very Small Lathe. Maddie's Workshop is in the house. Don't come up past the border. We'll send you back. And especially don't come in the boot of a car. Get the paperwork. And isolate. We don't want it. Tom, g'day. Nice meal, Matt. So, what are we all working on? What's happening? What's news this week? Couple of TMC 2020 updates. A few updates, actually. There was a couple of videos. One from Tinker this week. One from Adventures with a Very Small Lathe, which is a classic case of biting off more than you can chew, and I do that all the time, so I can totally relate. One from Tony. Pretty good video. One from, oh gosh, there was another one as well, and I've forgotten. Oh my gosh, I did write them down, but they're in the other room. There was another one as well. Another little channel. I'm sorry if you're listening in. If you are listening in, put your hand up and say you sent it in. Didn't get emails from very many of them, so it's a bit difficult. Lead Hammer was Tony, Craig. Yep. Yeah, Maddie, what's the way to the Cincinnati? All the important questions. If it was requested, let me know. About 1.5 ton. Okay, it's not as heavy as I thought. Awesome. Anyway, got a message from Man Cave saying he's put all the stuff together. He might post that details into the chat if you would. Man Cave Metals. They've got He's worked out a kit for Tommy Gun Machining's TMC 2020 build. Tommy's got drawings for sale. I don't know if you've watched any of his videos, you might know that they're pretty good drawings. They're nice and neat. It's a pretty good design. I'm going to build one eventually when I get time. But Man Cave has put a kit together with everything, and it's kind of pretty cheap. So let's see how many of them we can get making. Craig Tate, that was the other one. Craig Tate had an awesome, no, there was another one as well. Awesome tap wrench build that we've been watching for a little while, but they're very short, very basic videos. That's awesome. So Chirpy's procrastinating, aren't we all? Tommy's going to quit his day job. Yeah, a bit like me. Not going to happen. The kits, it's a nice build actually. I think you could build it on fairly basic machine tools without a lot of effort. You can nearly just about do it on the lathe and do a nice job of it. I reckon if you fly cut the taper face, hold it in the tool post and full cut it, I think you can make it in a lathe without too many issues. So it's a pretty good little build. Yeah, good drawings. Go and get them, and then go and see Man Cave Metals, who's an awesome guy to deal with, quick and easy to deal with, and he's put the whole kit together, everything that you need. So that's awesome. We don't do pretty dumb, Chirpy. Everything you made's cool. Last video you made last year was awesome in the end, and we really enjoy your video. So see how you go, as long as you don't film it in the dark. No, that was pretty cool too, but that's awesome, Chirpy. Look forward to it. You've got, how many days we got left? We got about 2 days, 2.5 days. You got 2.5 days. It's pushing it midnight on the 31st, which is only a few days away. And we've got a lot. I think there's 34, 35 videos in the playlist, and I think there's a couple still to come that I haven't seen yet. So I'm excited about that. What else? Oh, some good videos there. It's going to be hard to pick one. We will probably announce some sort of a live show or something, Stephen and I had to judge it and probably get some of the prize donors in as well. We'll see how we go. Who's going to be MC? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think we can do sort of a half and half screen thing. I haven't done that before, and I don't think Stephen has either. Randy Richard does it a bit. But we'll see how we go. We'll see what we end up with. But that's a couple of days away, and it's probably nearly a week away before we work out who's going to win. Traditionally, it takes us a week or 10 days. So at this point, At this point, we'll see. We'll keep you posted. I have a bird or something. It's not a bird, it's dark. I don't know what it is. I've got something in my roof. I'd imagine it's probably a rat. It's a bit of a pain. They go up the walls. I live right next to the river. So when it's cold, they come in from the bush, and there's only about 4-inch ceiling gap in this house. So a flat roof. So it's very, very difficult to sort things out, but we do have traps and stuff set. Anyway, that's probably more information than anyone needs. Here's Chris, g'day. So what have I been doing? I've been putting this together. Look at this, check this out. We're getting there. Made a fair bit of progress this weekend, and I finally got it all back together again last night late. Got this crank ground. Could do with a bit of oil in that. Questions? Yes, I've got some compression. Because the head's bolted down solid, we've got compression all the way around. Someone's just messaged me to ask if it's a typo in the email address. Probably. I don't think so. Hey, Ted. Anyway, is there any blowback? I don't think so. I pulled them out last night and put them back in. They're not shiny all the way around. There's a couple of spots that still got machining marks in the rings. So I reckon this wants just messing with and playing with and turning over another few hundred times. We're still getting pretty dirty oil out of here. So I'd say that the high spots are still coming off them. So I think we've got enough compression to run. But yes, there's definitely blowback. But we've also got a leaky head because I've only just bolted that on with a bit of grease. I've done a fair bit of work here. Anyone's following the Patreon project probably can tell. I've put a spacer behind this gear. When I built this casting and I made this pattern, I probably should have put little risers on the back here to machine off to give us a raised surface to run this cranking gear on. But I never, so it's just a flat wall. So I've put a little brass or bronze washer in there to take some of the rattle out of it this way. You don't get the rumble now. I got this crank ground, the journal, I've made a new bush for that. I've filled this, I've oiled this. I put a bolt in here so that the bush doesn't turn. I made this end collar and put that on. I've drilled the piston and the big end so that the gudgeon gets oiled. Hey Dennis, good to see you. Yes, that's right. Toolmakingcomp@mail.com. You got it. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that, Warren, and some information. Mike from Cornwall, good day. Thanks, Craig. So what kind of gasket? Probably copper. I don't want anything too thick and I want something soft. I'm not sure. A fibre gasket would probably do. There's also a gasket that's got to go in under here. Might hit up someone with a laser cutter to cut that, or I might just cut it out. There's the water jacket gaskets, this one and this one and this one. And there's a cylinder head gasket. This is an awkward thing to hold and set up. It is fairly level there. The casting's kind of pretty crap, actually. Well, it's all right. It's a beautiful casting. But if we have a look, this isn't quite level across here. These are, and I've set it up level on these two dots here for the valves. This isn't quite, this is pretty good. And this has got a bit of slope in it too. The rocker goes on here. The valves are about the same size as this. Go in there. And there's a manifold goes in here with the exhaust pipe pokes out under here. And gas inlets on this side. So Mike, what's bonk off? That's terrible. Wazzer will work that out. He's that sort of person. He'll give you a definition of bonk off. Should talk to my pattern shop. It's not a bad casting. This is probably one of the nicest castings I've ever machined. Really nice casting. It's probably the most expensive casting I've ever bought too. But anyway, by the time we paid postage on it. Coppers a go. Okay, we'll remember that. So that's on. We've got water jacket connected. Everything's enclosed surface here. And timing system's all done. Push rod's all on. And not quite lined up as well as I would like. It's a bit stiff there. I put that on last minute last night. I might have to just loosen that off and get it positioned a bit better. One of those bearings is a little bit stiff. Nowhere near timed, not even close. I've got a next job, I guess, is to machine the valve stem guides from the front. I'm going to set these up in the 4-jaw and drill these from the front right through, so they're on the center of the dots. That's the most important thing. And then just for aesthetics, really. And then I'm going to turn it around in the 4-jaw and set these up, set everything up nice and flat, and set this up on the holes up on center, and machine the ports and seats in the other end, and run a reamer through it last. So hopefully they're somewhere near concentric. And then I've got to set this up and drill that one and that one through until they meet up, which is going to be fun. And I got to tap this one 2BA for the rocker. And then we've got to put the slot in the back and the hole for the spark plug, which I hope is not too long to bolt down in there. I think it'll fit. We'll have a look at that. We'll drill it through into the port in the back and measure it, and if it is, we might have to find a shorter one, but we'll see how we go with that when we get to it. Are there pockets under the valves? Did we make spare rings? Yes. Small ring compressors in the works. Let's start with Craig's question. Spare rings. I made 5 rings. This is them. They're narrow on one side and thicker on the other side. It's offset. And that is so that when you split this, you've got, when they squeeze in, you've got equal ring pressure all the way around. There's as much pressure on the back here as there is on the sides. So that's the reason for that. I've been asked that question about half a dozen times this week. And I split them, and they needed about 1/8 inch gap, something like that, before they squeeze in and go in with minimum ring gap. So I just parted them off. I've worked that out so that I knew how much I could offset it, and I just put a shim under one jaw when I bored them, and then parted them off and lapped them on a bit of wet and dry on the surface plate, and then split them on an angle, across on an angle, and fitted them in the bore, and they've got about 5 thou ring gap. So pretty happy with the way they worked. I've got 3 extras, may never need them. Hey Steve. Are there pockets under the valves? How do you mean by pockets? Does this have valve guide seals as well? No, not as such. It sort of does. It has, I guess that's what you would call them, really. There's no actual seals as such, but it has got brass pieces in that end of the valve that rub against here, that are washers that follow up and down, that probably work something like valve guide seals, but valve stem seals. But we'll work that out when we go. I don't know. I reckon it's going to blow smoke everywhere, and oil. Necklace Workshop, get your keys. We don't take attendance here. Someone asked, how am I going to make the valves? Really good question. What will the valves be made from? I've got a 4mm reamer, so we've decided on that as probably a little bit oversized valve guides or valve stems, but they'll be nice and solid. There's all these questions about valves, right? The same with every single part that you make. there's a whole list of questions and probabilities and reasons why and why not you should do something. And last of all is what looks good, but that's right down the list. Uh, Take for example the valves. There's two ways I could make them. I could make them out of two pieces. I could use a piece of 4mm 01 for the stems, which would be really nice. And I can machine the end of them in a collet, and I can make a press fit on head or a push on or good fit on head that I can rivet over. And that's probably heaps good enough, and that's probably what I'll do. However, as long as they seal, I can make them out of one piece, which is a bit of a pain because they're nearly 2 inches long and they're that diameter, and I'm really not all that confident about that. You can't really weld them. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, Warren, this is kind of a bit. There's some seriously good technology in it, but there's also some really stupid things in it. But anyway, so these have. Gosh, there's a drawing right here. I've been looking at it all week. This is what the ports look like inside. So this is straight through with the valve guide, and it was valve stem guide there. And this one comes up from the top. This is a machine surface, and the manifold, which looks like this, bolts underneath. So pretty simple. It's got this piece here which should have probably been cored, but it's way too small to core successfully in this little casting. And in this little casting you're going to end up with hard iron because you're going to end up with chill spots and all sorts of things. So that's a better idea not to. It's 5/16/26 gas. The thread in the side there, which goes in through here, which is for the gas valve. And the carburetor is basically a ball on a seat which stops the gas escaping. And when it sucks, there's a little bit of air gas coming in at fairly low pressure, and it sucks the air in as it's needed. And then when the valve closes, well, this ball sits back down. So fingers crossed that works. I'm a bit nervous if I make this out of aluminium, which I originally intended, that we're going to end up with heat transfer from this side to this side, because this is the exhaust, and you're going to end up with pre-ignition. But I'm not sure how big a fear that is or how real it is. These are all things to think of when you're designing and building an engine from more or less scratch. And although you've got drawings and dimensions and some notes, there's not much here really. So these, it says 9/16, but they're not that big. They're about 10.7, so whatever that is. 10.5, I'm probably I can get away there. This thing's about 93 bigger bore, so I can 93 thou bigger in the bore, so I can probably get away with 11 millimeters here. And I'm just going to put these straight through, straight in here with sharp seats at this point, and probably we'll see how we go with valve seats. I'm not real confident about them. And the spark plug comes in from the top there. The head snaps sometimes on two-piece. Right. That's fair. I hear what you're saying. Original had alternative screw-on valve head. Yeah. Someone's been doing their homework. This is the valves. I don't think it's screw on. I think it's just two different shapes. This one's round and this one's been recessed. They got to see, the thing is they got a pin across the bottom of them, and that's going to mushroom out if I know anything, if I don't heat treat them of some sort. Whether I put a collet on there and a thicker washer, like a C-section washer on there and a collet, which might be easier if we machined a groove with a C-clip so that you pull the spring down and put the collet in and let it go. That's probably a better system than a hole. I don't think much of a hole through the end of a valve, but if they're heat treated, then probably they'd be okay. This one, I don't think they would let go, but expansion might be different when they get hot and they could leak. I'm reluctant, if I make these out of two pieces out of 01, I'd be reluctant to silver solder it because I think you would get hard spots and they would break. And probably you could machine this out of 11mm sort of half-inch 01 and get reasonable results, or even out of something a bit softer, even just like a 1020 or a 1045, and case harden the ends of them might work too. So lots to think about there. Kevin asks all the difficult questions. How do I cut the valve seats? Really good question. I'm not going to put much of a valve seat on them. There's not going to be any like 3-facet valve seats and any of that kind of gear, although that's probably the easy way to get them right if you could be bothered making cutters. I'm probably going to leave the seat square and make these fit in the right spot here so that the wear lines in the outer third where they should be. Gosh, I've learned a lot of stuff about engines in the last 12 months. And lap them at that and see if they seal. I'm probably not going to put long seats on them. I think they only want to seal on one ring around there. I don't think they want like long seats. Decent valve seats with 3 facets are only very, very tiny as well. So I think I'm just going to leave them square and lap them. There we go. That's probably all right, Kevin. I'm not sure about distortion too. Thanks, Uncle Bob's Bees. Could make a stone with a taper, yes, and a valve guide. I could do that. Hey, Stewart. Yeah, thanks, Warren. Thanks for confirming that. Thanks, Craig. So that's where we're at with that. This is how the valve stem seals, whatever they are, work. I don't know. There's this bush here. I'm not sure really its purpose. And there's a washer, right? And then I guess that's a tight fit inside the spring, and that holds it up against there, up against the washer. And then this one here, I'm not sure about that. If anyone's got any insight into this one here goes over the top, and the pin goes, the pin goes through here in the washer, and then this one goes on the bottom. This is the head end. Sorry. So there's this piece here, which goes over the top, which this sets on, and then this piece here. I'm really not sure what this does. I guess it centralizes the spring, but I think I'm probably going to redesign this a bit. This does limit travel a bit. This is your exhaust valve, and your inlet valve hasn't got as much travel, so it doesn't suck as far. So this is quite a bit longer on the inlet valve. Maddie, you're probably right there. So this is, yes, there's lots of bits in this engine. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a fair bit of work here. I've been 12, nearly 18 months on this. I've been 18 months getting it to this stage. And we've got compression. And it's getting better all the time. So that's, I think we've got enough compression to run. We've just got to get some timing. We've got to get some spring tensions right, and we've got to get some gas right. There's just a little, like a union cock on here that goes, the threads in here with a tap on it for gas regulation, and I guess we need a regulator on the tank. Well, I'm going to just run on a little LPG or propane tank. I think it's nice and clean and easy. There's enough work in that loco. Got bolts coming for the tender, so I can move on with that now. I've got a new 3-jaw chuck, but I really wanted to make some progress on this, and there's probably going to be another video out on Patreon with this cylinder head. This is not sitting real firm because there's a fair bit of weight on this side here. It's all right, there's something under it. But the other thing is that we've got I don't know what's under there. Something's under there. There's a bump there. Oh, it's glue or something on the bench. That's what that is. The other thing is a cooling system. And the easy way is just to put a tank here. Like something like that, which is a bit boring. What pressure for the propane inlet? 2 parts of stuff all, I imagine, Uncle Bob's bees. Very, 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 very little. It's not a very big chamber. It's only really this gas port here. And look, it's only got a little taper plug tap on here, which is going to be cracked open and 2 parts of nothing, and then there'll be a regulator to a couple of psi of gas, I imagine. Joseph says ugly. This is ugly, yes. So really not nice. We can make a nice galvanized screen printed proper tank for it if we wanted to, but it's ugly. The other system's a radiator, right, and convection or force or whatever. For that, you really need a tank. You need a pump, and if you have a pump, you're going to need water in it every time it runs. What I would really like, what I would like personally, probably a round tank here, about that high. You're probably right. It won't use a lot of gas, I don't think. It's not going to be green. I did leave you a little I guess quite a big hint in this video about what color it's going to be. So anyway, you can work that out. I've got the paint anyway, so you know. So it's too late to make a decision on that. What I'd like is a little short tank and a mesh screen, a tall tapered mesh screen, and this pipe going into the top of the mesh screen with the evaporative cooling over the mesh, and a pump to pump out of the tank and through the front and up over the top. That's what I would really like. I'm not going to show the paint. White's not practical, but it might have a red stripe. There's another sort of a That's exactly right, Tom. Exactly right. I know what color it's going to be, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, and red flywheel, red cylinder head, red crank, and this color green. A pretty good chance if you buy anything that's that color and red, that it's going to need a lot of work. There's a name for that rule. Right, a mesh evaporative cooler radiator is good. It's easy to keep clean. Don't have to worry too much about flushing it out. It's nice and neat. It's something to watch running. It works effectively, and it doesn't take up so much space. That's awesome. Thought it was green. That's what I'm saying. That's how they're painted, and they're going to need work. Sorry, Fridge, you're going to need to do something about that. They're going to need a lot of work. Buy anything that color, whether it's a machine tool or a steam engine or a car or anything else, is Keith Newstead's rule. That's what it is. If you buy something that color, it's problems. He said it more than once. So anyway, if we do that, we're going to need a pump. I've put this groove in the flywheel. Have a look. Put a groove in this flywheel for a belt. Stewart made for a while the #1 pump, which is in this catalogue, right? And for quite a bit of time from the sort of Second World War onwards, they made this little pump, #1 2-inch centrifugal pump. Now, if we scaled that down 3/4, the same as the engine, then it would be about 1.5 inch diameter. And we could sit it here beside the pump and run it off this belt pulley with a pulley, and we could pump water out of the tank into the bottom of the engine. So that's the thoughts on the cooling system at this point. However, It should be a fairly easy part, and I've put some feelers out for a set of drawings for the Stewart pump. It's only a very basic curved impeller, and it's 2 pieces, and it's got a gland packing bush on it and a stainless steel shaft, which would only be about 3/16 shaft, and some brackets to sit it on the bench, and you could put it beside the radiator or on the side of the radiator and have this run on that. However, that pump still, even only 1.5 inch diameter, is going to run enough, like it's going to shoot this about 5 feet at the speed that we can get off this big pulley. So not 100% convinced about that pump idea. So what I would like is a little gear driven piston pump. We haven't got much room. We've got about 2 inches by, or maybe 1.5 inch in black and white measurements. We've got probably 30 millimeters by 100 millimeters by 50 millimeters to put a little gear driven plunger pump in here, and it only needs to be, I reckon, the diameter of this pipe, if that, with about 1/4 inch stroke on it, and that would be enough to run the cooling system. G'day Russ and Ox, good to see a video update this week. We worry about you. Hope you're feeling a little bit better, and it's a gradual going forward, and things are looking up. Don't worry, he's okay. He's okay. We've stopped worrying. No, we haven't stopped worrying, but we are a bit worried about you, and I hope you come right. And thanks for the video. Anyone seen Russ Knox video? Saving going through all the details here. He had a health update video this week, so go and check it out. And how to get stickers in the microwave. I don't have a sticker on your ball, or I might have a sticker. I don't have your sticker, Russ Knox, so I will email you about that. Anyone who said I'd email about something, it's probably still happening, because I'm shocker at that. Really, really bad. So that's where we're at. We're going to make a wooden base for this, and we're going to put the buzz coil down in the base with the battery. And we're looking for an old Bakelite switch in a smaller size that we can put on there to switch the power on and off. And we're looking for some pump ideas. Something from the 1920s that doesn't need to be Stewart Turner, but it needs to be contemporary and something I can make. Something I got drawings for. Reeves have a few pumps, John says. That's probably really good. Hey, John. Good lead there. We might have a bit of a look at that. There's nothing in the Stewart catalogue, though, from any of them that I've seen. And we'll see. But that's the plan. However, if we put a pipe muffler out here with a muffler on it, or a pipe out here with a muffler on it just here, it's going to rattle this radiator pretty bad when it's running. So that's not really an answer either. So I don't really like it pointing up. The pipe might point down with the muffler down there or out the front. We'll see. Still working on that. Oh, EJ Winter had one in their catalogue. Have I got an old EJ Winter catalogue? Maybe I do. Thanks, Mark, for that. I reckon it was a direct rip-off, but you might still have drawings. It's something that screams, Darren. Yeah, turbine pump in the muffler. No, I don't know about that. Anyway, that's our progress update on that. What else? Gosh, I've rattled on about that. Sorry. Muffler to make this a little bit less noisy, I think. I'm a bit sort of fired up about getting this finished at the moment. So sorry you've got to put up with an hour of me rattling on about the engine, but I'm watching the comments and I've learnt a few things and sort of had a little bit of encouragement from you guys, and I really appreciate that. How loud do you think it'll be? I'm not sure. It's about 50cc single with no muffler on it. How loud are they usually? Loud pipes save lives. Yep. It's probably going to get something to stop. It's going to get a muffler. Sorry. That's how it's going to be, and a little bit of back pressure mightn't hurt it either. Stop it revving too hard. You don't want too much, because if this gets too hot, we get flow transfer between here and here for heat transfer. This side's the exhaust and this side's the gas inlet, so I'm not sure I want to do that. And if I do put too much of a muffler on it, I probably want to cast this in brass, or I don't know. An iron casting would be nice, but I can't go through that again. But you're right, it's only doing 400 RPM. That's probably what's going to happen. It's going to be running a long time before it gets a muffler on it. Or before it sees any paint either, thanks. It could, Tim, but I don't really want to modify this engine too much. Oh, that's a pretty smart idea. I don't know how that'd work. Yeah, I'm listening to you, Tim. Thanks for that. Okay, I might have a think about that. Anyway, that's where we're at, and I'm currently looking for a muffler, and I'm currently working on this head, and hopefully I would very much like to get this all done and some valves in it fairly quickly. Thanks, Craig. So that's where we're at with that. In other news, my D-beat grinder's hit Queensland. It's in stock up there. I've got to wait and go and get it, or wait for them to deliver it or something. Thanks, Matt. That's probably plenty. That's about what it would have, I think. So D-beat grinder's on its way. I don't think it'll be here next week. I'm not sure, but it might be. It depends what's happening. It might turn up on Wednesday. we'll see how we go with that. I've sort of been doing okay at work lately, and I am a bit guilty of buying more projects. So I don't know if anyone wants to see the more projects or have a bit of a look at them, but probably it's just soul destroying. Because I shouldn't be starting anything new, and I'm not going to start anything new for a bit. But this project is contemporary with this one, right? And I really wanted to see what was involved in a project from Stewart Models that was contemporary to this, because I've only really been guessing. I haven't even actually seen an advertisement for this engine, let alone anything else. I've seen a couple of engines, so I know they exist. And I've seen a couple of the later ones advertised, and I can see a family resemblance, so I know that it's Stewart. But I really don't know what they're advertised at, or what sort of... If anyone's got any ads on this engine, it'd be awesome. But I wanted to see how much more put together an actual kit from Stewart was from this time period. So this is... What is it? It's up here in a box. Hang on. There we go. So this is a contemporary project. Probably never going to happen. And it won't hurt to sit on the shelf for a bit. I was reading a book. This is the Stewart Progress. Stuart Turner and Henry Greenley. Same stable, same design team. And same parentage. The difference is that this is reproduced, and the kit's still being made. Right, the Progress cylinder and flywheel was part of quite a big family of engines that they designed, and they're all in this book. But the drawings and diagrams and sketches are pretty much identical to what I've got. In fact, this one here, setting it out with this scribing block with the hinge piece on it, is exactly the same as the one. In this book. Same scribing block. Obviously, that was the way to do it. How to set it all out. And so same draftsman, same artist, basically the same writing. And this was published... It's a reprint from sort of just after the First World War, I think. Very, very similar technology. And that's the bits that you get. There's a piece of cladding sheet, a piece of gasket material underneath. There's a flywheel, there's a cylinder, there's 2 cylinder heads. There's a crank, which is basically the same sort of thing, the same family as the crank on this 400. There's the single outrigger bearing block, which is sort of very, very similar, and there's a base, which is also fairly similar, and all the bolts and a couple of bits of O1, I think, that haven't even been deburred. I really wasn't very impressed about that. They could try a bit harder. And there's a gland in bronze and I think a piston in bronze, and the slide big end, I think, in bronze. So that's the Progress. It's not an expensive engine. That kit with the book and all the bits was less than 200 Australian. It took 10 days to get here, so mail's nearly back to normal. And that's a contemporary engine, a very small engine, but a contemporary engine to the Stewart 400. So gives you some sort of idea what they come with and what the drawings look like, and they're not all that much different to the drawings for this. So probably if I bought this kit in 1920, I would have ended up with exactly the same stuff as I've had with this. Mr. Pete built this and did a good series on it. I think it's a pretty nice engine, and I don't think the castings look beautiful. It's a fairly simple thing. Everything's in the box. Your gland packing and your springs and your bolts. It's all in BA, so for all you American guys, that's a problem apparently. It's a nice little flywheel. It's a fairly simple thing that you would machine on a lathe, because in the 20s, most home workshop guys, that's all they had was a round bed Drummond or something like that, or a treadle lathe. And I mean, you could chuck this up and do it in the 4-jaw if you needed to. This could be done easily in the 4-jaw. Could be done in a mill too. It has instructions for hand scraping the valve faces. So you don't even need a mill if you don't want to. And it's all there. I reckon it's not a bad engine. I reserve the right to judge it until I've cut into the castings. If they're as bad as this, well, maybe not. That was including freight, so I think it was less than £110, Matt. Blondie Hacks is building a fairly big engine, a PM engine. That's a good series. Go and check it out. She has... It's interesting to see how someone else would set it up. Quinn's awesome, and she's got good gear. She talks at a speed that I have trouble keeping up to her. She's about the only YouTuber where I would actually slow the video down. But that's a little project. I would think I would be able to finish that if I had a week off. I would be able to get that running without any problems. But I'm fairly quick, I guess, with some things. However, at this point it's going back on the shelf. I really just wanted to see, and it's not, I mean, they're not hurting anything there. I don't imagine they're going to get any cheaper. And they still seem to fetch market price even years old, so it won't hurt anything here. I'm trying to justify this. And it's interesting to sort of see that contemporary engine come with basically the same information as what I've got on this. What ignition does what have, Matty? This is a steam engine. I think this would be suitable for beginners. It's open to a fair bit of interpretation, the same as this. The drawings and the book is pretty good. The book's got everything in it that you're sort of going to need to get it going. To my mind, it's probably bang for buck. It's probably one of the nicer steam engine kits. I really like this, but the PM Research one is probably about the same price for a proper slide valve engine, and a bit more, probably a little bit more traditional. I don't know, but this is a nice vintage engine, and I really like this. And all these used exactly the same parts, these Progress engines, vertical marine engine, and there was a whole family of them. And from that, I guess, from that basic library of parts, this was somewhere up the tree. So there we go. Yeah, the person who sells on all this crap when I'm gone will thank me for buying this. That's where we're at. Take care, Kevin. We won't be too long, I don't think. Wouldn't bother coming back. Anyway, we're getting a bit late. What else? What other exciting things have happened? Not very much, to be honest. Reminder, you've only got 3 or 4 days for the tool making competition. There's some awesome prizes in a few different categories. There's a very, very nice Noga magnetic base and a Mitutoyo indicator, which I'd love to have. That was donated by Shadow Dog 500, who was, I think, the first year's winner. And Tommy Gun Machining, if you want to say thanks to him for his contribution, which is a set of hardness tester files. They're a really nice thing to have in a workshop. You should totally go and buy his drawings for his project, because he's entered as well, and I encouraged anyone who donated prizes to enter, but it hasn't really happened to anyone else, so we're not going to disqualify him. Take care, Richard. And he's donated a really awesome set of hardness tester files, Japanese ones. The Super Saiyan, I think they'd be really nice to have too. I've got a set and I really like to use them a lot. There's also a set of precision ground flat stones from Stefan Gottswinter in Germany. So it's your only chance, if you live outside the EU, to actually own a set of them. So that's pretty awesome too. You've got to be in it to win it. Take care, Richard. Now, wiring problem. Yes, I fixed the wiring problem. It's a loose wire on the top of the VFD power inlet. Active or neutral was loose, I think. Stewart, you sent me a message, and gosh, I'm going to go back and have a look. I am sorry about that. I just haven't thought about it again, but you sent me messages and pictures, and probably yes, depending on where you are and what they're going to cost me to get them. I'll be in touch. Sorry, Stuart. So it was only a loose wire. I pulled the motor out and I put the motor on the other VFD on the mill, and it runs fine. It was running pretty hot, and it was because it was only running very slow and overloading. And I put on another VFD and it cooled down straight away, so let's fix that. And it wasn't the motor. So it was showing an arrow that said low mains or low input voltage or bad wiring or something like that, which should have been a wake up. But I went right through the wiring and it was the last place I looked, which was the mains inlet into the VFD, which was tripping the circuit. That's pretty sweet, Stuart. You make sure we can sort something out, because they will get some use. So thanks, Craig. Yes, we've got that's not where the problem is, but we do have a long cable here that looks a bit ugly, and Craig pointed that out. Anyway, VFD's all working. It was up in the top of the VFD, one of the wires going into the actual VFD, and probably it's just been knocked or got loose. I don't know how, because they're all pretty well protected. And that's what stopped it. So maybe it was just a loose screw from vibration, but it's been playing up for a little while, and I'm glad I've got that fixed because it ran faultlessly all weekend. I did a fair bit on it this weekend. Take care, Dennis. And that fixed that. Anyway, thanks for everyone who helped. So what else? Nothing really. I'm probably nearly going to grab some dinner and go to bed. I really appreciate anyone who's tuning in. Some new subs. The sub counter's not up and running, but to be honest, I haven't even looked at it. I got to take it out of the carrier and go and flush it and see if I can sort that out. But I haven't looked at it. But there are quite a few new subscribers, and it's because of you amazing people with your videos that gave me a shout out. I've picked up a lot of subscribers, and that's awesome. Really appreciate that. I hope everyone else has done okay out of this whole TMC 2020 thing. It's been a fair bit of effort. I felt like I haven't put as much effort into it as I would have liked, or I probably should have. But it is what it is, and it's been an awesome experience to be part of it. You can all be part of it by going and liking and subscribing to videos and sharing them around, because that's an awesome thing to do. And Go Create Hobby Store had some drawings, and Go Create Hobby Machine Shop had some drawings of a really cool project to match his video. You could go and support him a bit. And Tommy Gunn did too. Don't forget to check out Man Cave Machining on Facebook or on Instagram, because Man Cave Metal Supply, Man Cave Metal Supply. Go and check him out, because he has kits for Tom's wobble brooch. Pretty cool project. Anyway, I'm going to call this. It's getting late. Take care, everyone. More soon. We might have compression again in this next weekend, but it's probably we're just going to have some holes in the head. And be kind to each other. And please, yeah, go and send some love to Rust Knox too, because we're worried about him.